external traumas that children experience, just as any child anywhere experiences, are dealt with. In order to deal with the trauma, they have to deal with it creatively in some way or other. In other words, through their body, into their imagination. There has to be a link made with what has occurred to them on the outside of their body, with what they're feeling about it inside. And the way they do that is through their imagination. So in other words, just like any of us will create fantasies in order to deal with powerful things that happen to us. So these children do, except they do it with enormous ferocity. They find, and they create stories, myths and fairy tales which are dazzling in their extraordinariness.
Since that date, the David Glass Ensemble has taken the Lost Child project to 17 countries, helping children to creatively participate whilst raising public awareness of the nature of their lives.
It's more than just simply us taking something away. We need to find a way in which we can pass some of the skills that we have to educationalists and teachers working in the field, so they can carry on working with these groups, and also the groups that we create and form want to carry on the life of them. So I'm thinking of setting up some sort of foundation.
Over the last 5 years in each of the countries visited, the Lost Child project has created a sustainable core of carers, teachers, theatre and development workers who continue the process.
I think the fact that David Glass has been here now twice and has touched a lot of people across Vietnam, that has worked, if you wish, as a training workshop for a lot of people, for a lot of the NGOs, for a lot of the Vietnamese authorities who are honestly interested in helping their children.
Vietnam is a country which has been devastated by war and economic isolation. Now it is engaging in massive change. New cultural and educational relationships are part of this process. Into this, the ensemble arrive. Pam Vision, the company manager, organises, cajoles, explains. For this project, the ensemble is made up of a composer, designer, performers, a press liaison, a producer, and the director. The next morning, David Glass, director, and press liaison Valerie Berda arrive at the offices of Save the Children UK. This is the third project that Save the Children in Vietnam have participated in. Central to the principles of the Lost Child project is the idea of sustained creative partnering. In this case with Save the Children UK, the British Council Vietnam and UNICEF.
Peer educators. And if they bring with them a continuation of particular communications tools, the kids get accustomed to that. And if it's drama, then that replicates very quickly.
No, that's exactly right, yeah. And they also then bend it very quickly and make it, and then it became just logistically difficult. But I think it would be a shame not to maybe follow up something here.
We don't know what... Save the Children as a mandate has child participation as a key theme to all that we do. We are required as an organisation to demonstrate advocacy and promotion of child participation as a way of working. But we also believe that the best way to do that is very often to have the children being self-advocates, finding ways for kids to raise their voices. And so the techniques that David and his team bring enables that to happen.
Later, the fourth partner, the Hanoi Youth Theatre, is visited by members of the ensemble. This local creative partnering is one of the most important aspects of the cultural exchange and helps produce ownership and sustainability long after the ensemble has left. David inspects the stage. Afterwards, the warm welcome leads to discussions about the continuation of the partnering begun on the ensemble's first visit. This takes the ensemble deeper into the culture of the children with whom they are working and introduces them to a range of new skills.
Everywhere I've gone, people seem so excited by it, and really, it's like, you know, it captures their imagination.
Matthew Jones, the producer, and David continue their meetings with the director of the Hanoi School for Deaf Children, Nguyen Kui Hong, and one of the teachers, Madame Phuc, and a translator. Sometimes in Southeast Asian countries, children with disabilities are considered to be marked by the spirits as inferior. The ensemble works to help reveal the children's creative and intellectual potential through participation in the process. A great friendship has been established between the ensemble and the children. They see the children are now much better integrated in the society, and they also have improved their communication skills since the first time the ensemble worked with them. Finally, the ensemble re-meet the young people of an earlier project at the Hanoi School for Deaf Children. The circle forms the basic structure in which people participate, bringing carers, teachers and children to the same level. The egalitarian nature of the circle is an actualization of the relations within the ensemble and a reflection of the way in which it works with others. It is a source of security and equality. Moving around the circle, names are exchanged. A few of the girls ask after Valerie, who was on a previous project, but otherwise busy on this first day. These continuities are important. The serious work with the young people begins. David introduces a mirroring game, where with people facing each other, one person leads and the other follows an action. It is a game which creates contact between strangers and an awareness of the other. The young people and carers relax a little and begin to enjoy the process. I personally have great affection for the David Glass Ensemble. They have given us great lessons on how to communicate with and treat the children, and I do value the way they respect the children, and I understand now that the relationship between the deaf children and the normal people should be equal. David and the team introduce another game of lead and follow, which is more physical and develops leadership confidence. The young people relax more. They begin to enjoy themselves and take responsibility within the exercises. And the professor appraises.
Slowly.
There is no patronizing. The young people are treated respectfully and are encouraged to learn and to aspire to excellence. These young performers listen, participate, and dare. The carers develop new ways of interacting with the young people. They too begin to take creative responsibility. They are becoming increasingly proactive.
If you ask me what has it meant for UNICEF in Hanoi, in Vietnam, to work with David Glass, I think I would reply in two ways. I would say that the David Glass way of working with children who are handicapped, disabled in some ways perhaps, it shows us something about all children that we need to have demonstrated. It shows how children are so full of many things, they're so creative, they have a wider reach than we have.
As the playing and training continue, music is added and the choreography becomes more precise and complex. Two of the performers, Jane Arnfield and Emma Carter, teach stage fighting, which involves intimate contact and caring for your partner.
And so what I'll find is that the workshop, for example, last year was in a room very close to my office, and all I could hear all day was screaming and laughter and, you know, banging and crashing, and it was so wonderful. I mean, every day there's a workshop in that room, and all you hear is rounds of applause and polite clapping and, you know, a bit of singing of nationalistic songs. But when David and the trainers were running their workshops, they were incredibly noisy, you know, sort of sense of chaos and mayhem, I think. And I think that I just have always loved feeling and noticing the difference that this type of training does. It's just different, and it just has a positive impact. People relax, you know, it's great.
And radical rights in this convention is the right of the child to participate, the right of the child to express him or herself. So we are very happy to work with David Blass Ensemble here.
Children really are the beginning of our life. The lost child refers to three things really. First, it's children who become lost physically, like street children, children who are lost through wars or sickness or poverty. But also it refers to the lost child inside of homes sometimes, children who are sexually or physically abused or emotionally abused. But finally also, there is a lost child inside every adult.
As the work progresses at the School for the Deaf, Jonathan Cooper, the composer, and Pam begin work at the School for the Blind and Partially Sighted with the young people who will become the choir. The partially sighted are grouped with the blind as helpmates. They have been chosen to work on the project by the school's headmaster.
My name is Jonathan, and I'm the composer with the David Glass Ensemble. What you will be taking part in is a piece of theatre called The Red Thread. It consists of two...
As part of the cultural exchange, the choir is introduced to a Western language and musical modes, whilst the composer absorbs Vietnamese musical idioms.
Dies irae.
Dies irae.
Dies illa.
Dies illa.
Solvet.
Solvet.
Seclum.
Seclum.
In favilla.
In favilla.
Okay, I'm going to play you the tune now. Good job. Dies irae.
Dies illa. Solvet. Seclum. In favilla. Dies irae. Dies illa.
Dies
As the rehearsals proceed, Jamie Vartan, the designer, works on the sets whilst forging a creative dialogue with the youth theatre's designers. As the literacy of play and the sense of safety increases, the young actors respond with previously unimagined skills and poetic invention. As this happens, the trust in the group deepens. These skills and games will prove their value on stage. As the young people learn to trust, they gain confidence. Affection is created on both sides. In Vietnam, prejudice against disadvantaged children is strong. People think the children are incapable of doing anything, that they are not useful to the society, and that they live off other people. But through the project, we now believe much more in the children's capability. There is fun, but as the days continue, the theatrical skills presented become more advanced.
Not just of struggle, but of coming to some kind of resolution.
Emma explains to an English-speaking teacher, who then explains in Vietnamese to Madame Phuc, who then translates to the children using their adapted sign language. Now the young actors understand and develop the new suggestions. These young people who live in a zone of silence or semi-silence are taught to feel or hear their own voices. They are literally given a voice.
I think the second thing that working with David Glass demonstrates so clearly is working with children who have been abused, children who are institutionalized. It shows how that the creative approach of the theater, of dance, of music, how that helps the children deal with their situation, live through their trauma, show to themselves that they have, even if they may be disabled in one way or that they have been unlucky in another way in life, that they have something to contribute. So I think he's a great inspiration for a country like Vietnam, which have many, many children institutionalized. Many children are institutions. We would like to see less children in institutions, but there are many, many children still in institutions, and this creative approach is something that many institutions in Vietnam could learn from.
The teachers, carers, translators, the ensemble members and the young people all gain from the exchange. And all of the exercises are part of the training and learning that will lead to the final production. As the rehearsals continue with the young performers from the blind and deaf schools, the company actors must themselves work on the evolving stage presentation, incorporating the developing contribution of the young people and refining it into the final performance.
Why don't you go through the sequence again. The sequence again from the running off, just to get the fluency of that. That comes even earlier than that, yeah, because it's really, as it begins to resolve itself, let's just try again, I think.
Jonathan grabs as much time as possible to rehearse the musicians and singers. Although the inherent Vietnamese tonal scale is very different than that of the classical Western canon, the talented musicians are versed in both. This sharing and participation leads to a richer piece of theatre.
Very strong American influences and European influences coming through television, through the media, through newspapers and so forth, and to see the effect on young people, particularly children, that all that globalization is happening, but it's totally external. It's totally about the outside of people. Whereas what I was interested in was globalization, but what happens inside of people, what links people internally to one another, connects them across the world internally, and you can't get that through a satellite dish. You have to get that through direct human contact with one another.
Theo lại đến đây nhé. Anh có được tắt mài thìa.
Thumb up.
Đứng lên đã, đứng lên.
That was chanted word.
Last year, and it's dramatic, it's striking. From the word go, as soon as the characters appear on the stage, you know you're not going to see something which is ordinary, which is pantomime, which is normal children's theatre. You see something which is really very disturbing, and that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to make you think about the role of children and of course the suffering of children. The message that it got across to us was the vulnerability of children. And it gets across to the adaptability of children and their sheer enthusiasm and the fact that they're like sponges, that they can just soak up environment stimuli and they can really project and perform and give a message to adults.
I do wish that there will be another chance of your coming here again. Your presence has given us lessons, and we've learned a lot from your ways of training children.
To see kids being able to talk about their problems. We want to see and hear kids telling us what they feel about situations.